Welcome back, dear viewer. Today we will be analyzing the Teutonic League's expansion and the causes and effects of it. We will start by reviewing the last episode. The Teutonic League met an underground nation dubbed Helona while building their mining industry. The two nations harmonized while making trades. This ended briefly when a dispute over resources led to a 4-year-long war, ending in a truce. An improved relationship with Helona and a further increased mining industry from Hellenic immigrants set the stage for an expansion. The first event of this so-called Teutonic Golden Age was a major expansion of the Teutonic military by Gerhard Ranz. During the time of the expansion, a new nation was discovered, Theoria. Theoria treated the Teutons with great disrespect and raided many trade and fishing vessels. This came to a breaking point when a royal, Ernst Rancelotten, was killed when he was making a tour of Theoria's capital, Thier. Gerhard III decided to take immediate military action by sending an elite cavalry force towards the capital. A desperate defense was set up by Theoria in a neighboring town they would have to pass through. Most of the citizens fled to Thier as the cavalry encircled the town, cutting off all supplies coming from the capital. Theoria prepared a stronger force on the outskirts of Thier as the Teutons took the smaller town in mere hours. Theoria's new force and the cavalry met halfway between the two towns, with both the leader of Theoria and Gerhard being at the battle. In a moment of sheer military genius, Gerhard sent a detachment of his cavalry towards Thier via an alternate path. Some cavalry stayed halfway on the path, waiting for the signal. At a moment, Gerhard ordered the main group to do a charge towards the center, with the rear and left flanks filled with the detached cavalry force. The army was simply overwhelmed. There was no time to spare as the remaining cavalry rushed to Thier, finding it scorched. What would make an emperor so deranged as to burn his capital? Stated Gerhard. Like that, the battle was over as Gerhard marched into the town. Thier was renamed Thorseed, and its remaining Thier inhabitants were enslaved. The Teutons assumed this was the end of the war, but Theoria had an impressive 13 islands in their possession, with forts maintained on each. The Teutonic League was very lacking in naval power, so this would be a challenge. The docks of Thorseed were raided for ships in an attempt to get a head start on capturing the islands. To Gerhard's surprise, Theoria had already set up a naval blockade on Thorseed and Thorseed. A shocking 30 ships were part of the blockade, including the Grand Saint Enza. This ship had 80 men on rows and 80 soldiers. The Saint Enza veered towards Thorseed and opened fire on coastal defenses, killing anyone on the beach side. Gerhard was in Thorseed the entire time, watching it happen from the Thier Grand Hall. Luckily, Gerhard sent a ship out before the blockade begun and it was en route to the back leg of the islands. There were only 50 men on the ship, but 150 on the island. The soldiers were split into two, half archers, half footmen, and the footmen rushed to the base of the fort as the archers rained arrows on the fort. The attack caught the fort by surprise. Some men up on the parapet, unaware of the attack beforehand, had only rocks to drop down below. Not one of them died before they got to the gate. The archers disembarked and followed behind the footmen as they gingerly stepped in, realizing no one was waiting for them. The soldiers became very anxious and were preparing for an ambush. They could only run as the whole fort's men charged them, grossly unprepared but with an extreme number advantage. All soldiers ran onto the ship as the archers killed roughly 25 soldiers. The archers were slain, save a few who ran at the right time. The soldiers, now leaving the fort, had nowhere to go to. As they sat in complete peril, one man had an idea. A nobleman, somehow in the common ranks, suggested they attack the Saint Enza. Many called it suicide, but with nothing else to do, they sailed towards the ship. The blockade had not eased one bit, and the Grand Saint Enza was sailing between the two blockades when it was caught by the ship. They sailed full speed towards it and arranged a boarding party. The archers could not fire on the deck of the ship, so the soldiers had an easy time slaying all of them. All of the towers surrendered, which played to the nobles' advantage. They could now use the ship. They plotted an attack on Thorseed's blockade, sending a messenger in a rowboat that would travel on land through the countryside to Gerhard to alert them. The message wrote this: Gerhard, when you see the great Saint Enza, now be informed it is ours and we recommend you join forces with it to end the blockade. Gerhard, now confident when he saw the Enza on the horizon, sent out the 10 galleys he gathered to combat the blockade. The Enza came from behind, finishing the blockade on Thorseed. The combined fleet made their way to Thorseed and broke the smaller blockade there. Gerhard hoped the islands would surrender with their end close. He only got half of what he wanted though, leaving 5 islands fighting against them. Gerhard arranged multiple boarding ships and attacked the remaining islands immediately after the soldiers stepped onto the ships. They were entirely successful in the conquest of Theoria. As a result, the Teutonic League almost doubled its landmass as it absorbed the two towns and islands. The islands in mention would be the home to many new naval bases. This would perpetuate the naval expansion starting in 1112. The victory also installed currency onto silken doddy. It became such a powerful currency that Teutonic coins were found in multiple Hellenic towns underground. Next episode will cover the relatively peaceful half of the League's expansion.